The year is 1888. The place is London, England, a city at the heart of a vast empire. But within this city of power and grandeur, a darkness festers. We find ourselves in Whitechapel, a district in London's East End. Its streets are a maze of poverty and despair. The air is thick with the stench of poverty and the grime of industry. Life here is cheap and often brutally short. It is in this setting ripe for terror that our story unfolds. The residents of Whitechapel were trapped in a cycle of poverty. Many were recent immigrants struggling to survive. Women, often desperate, turned to prostitution to make ends meet. It is against this backdrop of despair that a predator emerges, one who would exploit the vulnerability of these women and etch his name in the annals of criminal history. He would become known as Jack the Ripper. The nightmare began in the waning summer months of 1888. On August 7th, the body of Mary Ann Nichols, a woman known to walk the streets of Whitechapel, was discovered. Her throat had been slashed, her body mutilated. The brutality of the crime shocked even the most hardened police officers. Little did they know this was just the beginning. As the weeks turned into autumn, the body count rose. Annie Chapman, Elizabeth Stride, Catherine Eddowes, Mary Jane Kelly. Each victim met a gruesome end, their bodies bearing the signature savagery of the unknown killer. The city of London was gripped by fear. Who was this monster preying on the most vulnerable? The police seemed powerless to stop him. The murders continued, each more brutal than the last, plunging the city further into a state of terror. The question that has haunted investigators for over a century remains: who was Jack the Ripper? Was he a doctor, as some theorized, driven mad by a perverse fascination with anatomy, or a butcher accustomed to the sight and smell of blood? Theories abound, each more outlandish than the last. Suspects emerged from the fog of speculation. Montague John Druitt, a barrister who committed suicide shortly after the final canonical murder. Aaron Kosminski, a Polish immigrant with a known hatred of women. Walter Sickert, a prominent artist with a taste for the macabre. Even Queen Victoria's grandson, Prince Albert Victor, was implicated. The lack of concrete evidence allowed these theories to flourish, each adding another layer to the enigma of Jack the Ripper. The murders sent shockwaves through Victorian society, but the burgeoning media ensured that the terror reached fever pitch. Newspapers, eager to capitalize on the public's morbid fascination, published sensationalized accounts of the crimes. These penny dreadfuls, as they were called, often embellished the facts, painting a picture of a city held hostage by a bloodthirsty maniac. The media frenzy surrounding the Ripper case wasn't just about selling newspapers, it also shaped public perception. The graphic details of the murders, often exaggerated for dramatic effect, fueled a climate of fear and suspicion. The Whitechapel murders became a gruesome spectacle, a source of both horror and morbid entertainment. The media's portrayal of the crimes contributed to the legend of Jack the Ripper, turning a human monster into a mythical boogeyman. A city transformed. The Whitechapel murders didn't just terrorize a city, they left an indelible mark on its psyche. The killings exposed the stark inequalities of Victorian society, highlighting the plight of the poor and the vulnerability of women. In the aftermath of the murders, there were calls for social reform, for improved living conditions in the East End, and for greater protection for women. While the Ripper's reign of terror was short, its impact was profound and long-lasting. The police, criticized for their inability to catch the killer, underwent significant reforms. Investigative techniques were improved, and the importance of forensic evidence gained greater recognition. The Jack the Ripper case, despite its infamy, ultimately led to advancements in law enforcement and a greater awareness of the social ills that plagued Victorian society. Section 6. Fact, Fiction and Folklore: Unraveling the Ripper Myth. The passage of time has done little to diminish the public's fascination with Jack the Ripper. In the absence of a definitive answer to the question of his identity, speculation has flourished. The case has become a breeding ground for conspiracy theories, with everyone from members of the royal family to famed author Lewis Carroll implicated as possible suspects. The Ripper murders have also seeped into popular culture, inspiring countless books, films, and even video games. From Alan Moore's graphic novel From Hell to the Johnny Depp film of the same name, the Whitechapel tragedies have been endlessly reimagined and reinterpreted. This constant retelling of the Ripper story, often with creative liberties taken, has blurred the lines between fact and fiction, making it difficult to separate the historical reality from the myth that has grown around it. Section 7. The Enigma endures, why we're still captivated. More than a century after the Whitechapel murders, the question of Jack the Ripper's identity remains unanswered. Why does this case, out of all the unsolved crimes in history, continue to fascinate us? Perhaps it is the sheer brutality of the crimes, the way in which they shattered the veneer of Victorian respectability. Or maybe it is the mystery itself, the tantalizing possibility that we might one day unmask the killer. The lack of a definitive conclusion allows us to speculate, to imagine ourselves as armchair detectives, piecing together the clues that eluded the police of the Victorian era. Whatever the reason, Jack the Ripper continues to hold a unique place in our collective imagination, a shadowy figure who embodies the darkness that lurks beneath the surface of civilization. Section 8. Jack the Ripper in popular culture, books, films, and more. The enduring mystery of Jack the Ripper has fueled countless works of fiction and entertainment. Authors have been captivated by the story, crafting intricate narratives around the murders. Films and television shows have brought the shadowy streets of Whitechapel to life, often adding their own twists and turns to the narrative. From the chilling graphic novel From Hell to the psychological thriller The Lodger, the character of Jack the Ripper continues to inspire artists and storytellers. These works explore various facets of the case, from the historical context to the psychological motivations of the killer. The enduring presence of Jack the Ripper in popular culture is a testament to the enduring power of this unsolved mystery. Section 9. Conclusion: the mystery remains. The story of Jack the Ripper is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk in the shadows of even the most civilized societies. Despite over a century of investigation, the killer's identity remains shrouded in mystery. The case continues to fascinate, to horrify, and to inspire, ensuring that the legend of Jack the Ripper, the notorious serial killer who terrorized London, will live on. While we may never know the true identity of Jack the Ripper, the case serves as a stark reminder of the vulnerability of life, especially for those living on the margins of society. The story of Jack the Ripper is not just a tale of unsolved murders. It is a story about the enduring power of mystery, the elusiveness of truth, and the dark side of human nature.